All right, good evening. My name's Sarn Payne. I'm going to put out a little information today. This is a very unofficial YouTube video. This is not USREC, the Army recruiting telling me I need to do this, and I'm not trying to recruit anybody that's out there right now. This is not a recruiting effort, but more or less to help you guys and gals and try to answer any questions that might be out there. Very informal. I'm probably going to talk for about an hour. First, I'm going to kind of go into a brief overview of what's going to, how the MAVNI program works and start answering some questions. I've got some jotted notes. I've got a laptop over here ready to go. So we will see how this goes. Note that there is a little bit of a delay in between me speaking and sometimes what is coming over question-wise. So I'm going to try to get to everybody's questions within this hour, but if I can't, I'll do a follow-on video that's not live and kind of answer your questions a little bit more. All right, so we're going to start off with just the MAVNI program in general. We all know what it is. We all know pretty much how it works. A lot of recruiters just don't understand it completely. So the most knowledgeable people should be you guys and gals. Like, we should know the most about the MAVNI program, you as the applicants. So this is going to better help you understand that as well. Okay, so first step, there's mainly four main phases of the MAVNI program. First phase is actually going and talking to a recruiter. You need to bring all your info, all your documents for your visa status. So if your visa status is F1, for example, you're a student, you need to bring in your passport, your visa, your I20. Okay, a note on your I20. An I20 is the form that is saying you could go to school. Got it. Okay, so what you need to look at is the date that your school is ending, the second date. So if that date is not out 180 days, you might not get approved on a G845 because you need to be within 180 days of for the delayed entry program, if that makes sense. So look at that date, make sure everything is up to date and valid. Second note with your I-20 or any documents that you are using to prove your citizenship, you must go back 2 years. So if one document says from 2013, you graduate 2015, that's not covering 2 years ago. We're not at September 2014 yet, so you would still need a previous document to prove that you've been here for 2 years on a legal status. Legal status, what does that mean? It means you have not left the U.S. for more than 90 days. It means that you have been going to school, and you're passing for the most part, and that everything is just documented. You have not missed anything to do with your status, whatever that may be, whether your employment, you've had employment the whole time. If you lost employment and didn't find employment in time, then you might get dropped off your status. Or if you stop going to school, you might get dropped off your status. So your legal status is, for 2 years, nonstop legal status. If you leave the country for 90 days, well, it restarts. There's nothing around it. So just make sure you're kind of thinking about that. Okay, I'm not going to go through all the different visa types. There's a lot of them out there, and we'd be here forever. We all know you have to qualify for a language. We have, a lot of different languages, and we have capped languages. The main language, the capped languages are Chinese, Hindi, Nepalese, Korean, and Swahili. Every capped language, as of right now, is closed except for Swahili. Swahili is the only one that has some spots remaining. I know that's going to be probably a lot of questions throughout the day. That's a most common one I get. Hey, what brigade has Hindi spots? What brigade has Swahili still remaining? The only ones that are still out there is Swahili, and everybody has spots for Swahili except for 5th Brigade. Go 5th Brigade. So that's that. Kind of touch on that here in a little bit as well. Okay, education. You must have some form of education, either i.e. from your foreign country, obviously, or your school you're going to now. If you don't have some form of education, you have to find it, provide it. This could be transcripts. I mean, if you're an F1 student, you're going to have some sort of transcripts from your current college. If you got a degree in a different country you could actually get it translated and evaluated here in the U.S. Talk to a recruiter. Most recruiters, like myself, have connections at universities and colleges and know the kind of type of people to talk to. Okay, so that's education. Social Security card. This is one of the biggest and hardest things is the Social Security card. Not every applicant that comes into offices have a Social Security card. You can apply for your Social Security card through the MAVNI program. How that works is after we get the GA45 approved, which I'll touch more on the GA45s here in a minute, we have to get the letter of intent, the LOI, approved by the battalion commander. The battalion commander would sign it, and then the recruiter has to escort you to a specific Social Security card of that state. That Social Security office knows MAVNI and will put your application in for you to be able to join, or for you to get a Social Security card. I've had different luck with this. I just had one guy's come back in a month. I've had some guys come back in 6. I've had some that didn't come back at all. So just be very patient with the Social Security card. All right. After that, you're eventually going to have to take an ASVAB. The ASVAB is just a standard test that everybody takes. You know, typically MAVNI applicants test pretty high. You have to have over a 50, which is, I mean, like I said, y'all test normally pretty high. Just the hardest part, the only advice I could give you is really study. A lot of people typically have trouble, you know, translating from, you know, in their heads, you know, English from their language. After the ASVAB, and this is just the steps in order as it goes by the use right message. I know some battalions out there and some brigades do it different. Some will allow you to take the test, physical, and OPI before you even have an approved GA45. Not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right, but that's just the way some of it is. But I'm actually just going straight off of the use right message, which is if your recruiters ever ask 13-164. And then I'm going to be going off of the newer reserve use right message, which is 14-035. So if they ever tell you they haven't heard the reserve or they haven't seen the message out yet, there you go. Those are the message numbers. Tell them to look them up. And if not, they could email me or call me, and I could email them over. That's too easy. Okay, so hold on. Let me get back to my sheet. Bam. So ASVAB. After the ASVAB, you take the physical. This is a full physical, just like a sports physical. You're just going to go to MEPS. Doctor's going to talk to you. You're going to list all your medical history and be honest, like, because they'll find it anyways. And you're just going to talk to the doctor. And after you're physically qualified, which that includes, you're going to take an airborne physical. Always tell your recruiter, hey, I need an airborne physical. It's not required to pass the airborne physical, but it is required to take the airborne physical. This doesn't mean you're going to be airborne whenever you join the Army. It just means that you can be in the future, and you already have an airborne physical pass. Make sense? Okay. After the physical, what would be then done is send up for an OPI request. The OPI request is going to be a one-on-one conversation over a phone, and it could last anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes or an hour. And it's just going to be in your language, and I mean, they're going to tell you what exactly they want, and they're going to stop you from speaking English or, you know, speaking whatever language you're taking the test for. Sometimes they're going to grade you on how well you can translate your language. Pretty simple process, but people complicate it. The main thing is the GA45. The GA45 is a single form that is filled out by the recruiter. It has all your information on it. Your name, your birthday, your I-94 number, your Social Security card. And it's scanned in and sent up to USCIS. USCIS then takes this form, make sure you've been valid for 2 years and, you know, been in the country on legal status for 2 years, and either approves or disapproves. Whenever they approve it, you're going to get a stamp that says approval. And at the very bottom, it's also going to say must ship by. That's where your documentation for your citizenship or your visas here, come into play. Your must ship date by, if you notice, is going to be the number or the date at the bottom of your, say, I-20 when you're supposed to graduate. Bottom or push out to 2016. If you're coming up on graduation date in May, your I-20 is probably ending in May. So that's not going to be a good I-20. You would have to look at that. and talk to your advisor about that. Once the G845 is sent up, like I said, it's going to be approved or disapproved. If it's disapproved, it'll tell you why. If you're ever disapproved, ask for a copy of it from the recruiter so that you can see what might have been wrong. Maybe a social was wrong. Maybe I-94 number was wrong. Maybe something was wrong on the form itself, and it's actually something you could fix and send up easily. Okay. Okay. So let's say it's approved. Well, actually, first, the G845 should only take 72 hours. If it's taking more than 72 hours, you need to follow up with your recruiter again and explain to him, hey, it should only take 72 hours. Sometimes whenever, like, say, for instance, the reserves just opened up last Monday, everybody floods the system with G845s. That could cause the G845s to actually take longer than normal. Nothing you can really do about it besides make sure whenever y'all are sending it up the first time, it's correct. And then that will help take down the time that is needed to get it approved and to get it back to you. Because that's the one thing that you have to get as fast as you possibly can. Okay, so that's kind of a breakdown of like the procedures and whatnot. You know, TTPs, training points that I would tell you. Whenever you first go talk to a recruiter, put the ball in your hands. Bring everything with you: your I-94 visa, passport, Social Security card if you have it, all your documentation for citizenship. Make copies for them, or already have copies ready to go for them. Explain that you're applying for the MAVNI program, and kind of know do your homework. Know what you're going to be talking about whenever you talk to them. Okay, so and then ask them after you got your G845 back if you could work on your packet. What I mean by this is everybody has an electronic packet that we as recruiters have to fill out. We have the ability to give you online access to your individual packet. If you start building your packet from the get-go after your G845 is approved, and you're testing and all the steps are coming up or lining up, then you can be ready to go by the time, and your packet will be really good and solid by the time that it's time for you to join. With that said, you cannot join if your languages are closed. Your languages each have 90 spots. The only, like I said earlier, the main languages that are capped, you have to get control numbers for those and be allowed to join. Every other language, besides the ones that I named, Nepalese, Hindi, Chinese, Korean, Swahili, are open, wide open. Like there's not a whole lot of people that join in all those languages. So I had a guy that called me the other day, and his recruiter told me Russian was closed. Russian's pretty open right now. So you have to really look at your messages and the form, and kind of know what you're going to go into and how you're going to discuss this conversation with the recruiter. I would tell you as well, try to be patient with recruiters. Recruiters don't know this program. We're not taught this program. The reason why I know it is people like Sergeant Jacobs knows it because we learned the program. We read and we learned from experience. We started working with applicants and learned what not to do and what to do, what works, what doesn't work. So we try to push out some of the knowledge we know to anybody that will listen pretty much. If you get me on the phone talking about MAVNI, I probably might have an applicant right in front of me and I'll talk for 20 minutes. But I'm here to help. Just be aware that a lot of times I get busy, and I know Sergeant Jacobs gets busy, and just be patient with your recruiters. If they're having trouble with this, tell them to email us or call us. Okay? I kind of went over the required documents already. New programs. So reserves. Reserves just opened up last Monday, and it's pretty much already closed. Excuse me. Reserves, same basic rules as applying for the active duty program. So, but there's only 20 spots per brigade. So what that means is first 20 people that are already done, OPI, phys qualified, everything like that, that are ready to join, could join the Army Reserves. But there are no languages. It's wide open to everybody. So if you're in a cap language and you want to do reserves, you're more than welcome to do it. Nobody's saying that, hey, there's only 5 Nepalese could join reserves out of this brigade. Yeah, we don't dictate that by any means. All right, so got a question here. All right, can MAVNIs go to airborne school immediately upon arriving? All right, so great question. Hold on. Oh, okay, so that's a good question. When you go to basic training, you now are a soldier. Nobody knows the difference between you and the next guy or gal standing right beside you. So in the event that you go to your infantry, you're an infantryman, you're going to be standing right by other infantrymen at basic training. You have the same opportunity to go to airborne school as they do. If the opportunity comes up that, hey, can I volunteer for airborne school, it's there. You most definitely can, just like anybody else. Okay. One thing to remember whenever choosing jobs, you don't choose a job with the recruiter, unfortunately. You actually have to choose a job down there at MEPS with the guidance counselors. You know, you got to remember as well, you cannot get a security clearance. You're not citizens as of this time. You will go through an investigation process just like a top secret, but you're not getting a top secret clearance. We just have to, every MAVNI has to go through the exact same investigation, just same as a I-551 holder. Okay, I'm going to show you this on the forum. All right, you know we have the forum up and running, and let me minimize this. Bam. Okay, so you see right here, you know, we got the file section. In here, we have numerous things, you know, MOS list. I would take a look at these MOS lists right before you're going down. Kind of get a idea of what you kind of want to do. Don't make it so hard that you're not going to get the job. Have a good little checklist that you're really interested in. All right, so I already opened it up, but this is pretty much the MOS list. Okay, so you kind of see what's going on clearance-wise. Okay, secret, top secret. You don't want either one of those. You can't get those. Okay, so it needs to be none. Make sense? Okay, so just use that. That's a great tool that's in the forum in the file section. Okay, as well, you got the MAVNI FAQ, so the frequently asked questions. And we kind of just put this together and keep adding to it as we see. Some stuff needs to change because now this is 120 days is now 180, but we will we'll get that taken care of. All right, back to me. All right, let's. That was a good question. The airborne. All right. How likely is MAVNI program to be extended into the FY 2015? Okay, so this is one of the biggest things that everybody keeps asking. You know, it is not official whatsoever yet if it will or will not come back. As of right now, the contract ends 2014 September timeframe. All right, so it could end sooner if all the spots for every language is ends up closed or filled up. That's probably not going to happen. I will bet my year's paycheck that's not going to happen, but we strive to have that happen. But there's nothing yet saying that yes, this will be extended for another year. I know just as well as a lot of you, people are trying to make it a permanent program. Doesn't mean it's going to, but kind of hope for the best here. Second part of the question, do you think it will be extended for those languages that have not reached the CAT number, i.e. 90, thinking in advance? All right, great question, Malik. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, but what he's talking about, hopefully what you're talking about is every language, like I said, had 90 CAT slots, okay? As you know, all the other CAT languages are closed except for Swahili. It will probably, I said probably, not guarantee, open back up for those CAT languages sometime in the future, before September. That could be tomorrow, that could be August. That we have no control over that until USREC or whoever makes that decision and pushes the button and says, hey, CAT languages are open, you have this many more spots to put this many Nepalese in, this many Hindi, whatever. So I'm pretty confident it's going to open up. So I would highly suggest pre-processing. Pre-processing is key to hitting your language, especially if you're in a capped language like most of you are. Hitting your language, I mean, that's important. So what I mean by pre-processing, go talk to a recruiter. Get the recruiter starting on all your paperwork. Start getting the ASVAB done, especially if you don't have a Social Security card. You know, you really got to start doing that because it could take a few months. It could take 3 or 4. Hopefully it doesn't, but you just never know. Pre-processing is a great thing. All right. Get to another question here. What's this one? Do you know if slots are still available for Hindi? I kind of answered that one already. If your brigade has reserve spots, then you're more than welcome to do that. They can still appear. Okay, so I did just hit that one. Sorry, I do jump the gun a little bit, and I'm trying to answer questions as they come, but sometimes it doesn't happen. But hey, like I said, pre-process. Wait for the slots to open back up if they do, and I mean I hope they do. Okay, here we go. Got that one. This question about the reserves opened up, only a total of 100 slots. Yep, got it. Without languages capped. We have no idea if this reserve thing is going to open back up, you know, anytime soon. I, in my opinion, think it was highly, highly successful. We wrote a lot of reserve contracts this last week alone. In that one day, there was a lot of MAVNIs that joined the Army for the Army Reserves, which is a great thing. A note about the reserves: the reserve jobs go off of your area. They're called vacancies. Okay, so if in your area they have, let's just say a cook job, and that's the only thing they have, that's what you're probably going to have to take. Whenever it comes to Army Reserves, don't be picky about your job. You're doing this for the pride aspect. You're doing this to join and serve, and you're probably going to go to college full time while you're doing it. You could still have a civilian job on the side, and highly suggest it because you're not going to get paid as much as you would active duty, and it's a very good program though. So you know, just be careful with the jobs. You gotta take what they give you or what's out there because it's not nearly as open as what all the active duty is. Right, here we go. All right, when a student transfers to a new school with a new I20, does he or she have to get updated G845? Good question. Okay, so when the G845 is approved, like I said, you're going to have the 2 dates. You're going to have the stamped date of approval, which is good for 1 year. Once it's approved, it's good for 1 year, unless that must ship date by whatever. We'll just say June 6, 2014. Well, if it says must ship date or must ship by June 6, 2014, you need a new G845. I highly suggest if you're on a capped language and you happen to either extend your I-20 for your bachelor's, say you got your associates, now you're going for your bachelor's, or if you do change schools and get a new I-20, and especially if you're on a capped language, I would get a new G845 reapproved. This will you know, stop the hassle of having to jump through hoops whenever the capped languages do open back up, and really help you and the recruiter be prepared for whenever it comes around. Okay, Malik again. If a language does not reach its cap by the end of this fiscal year, just so everybody knows, goes from October to October. We don't go December or January to December. That's just a calendar year. All right, is it going to be extended into the next fiscal year? Great question. She's got a great question so far. Okay, no, it will not. These slots are contracted for this year. That's it. So in the event that we don't fill up the languages, we don't get them back. We don't get to do anything for it, unfortunately. I wish we could. We all do, honestly. All right. If it happens that my GA45 is not approved, is there any chance to try again and resubmit it? Oh, of course. There's numerous reasons why your GA45 could be disapproved. The most typical reason is not meeting the 2-year mark. I don't know. There's been a lot of people that I've worked with that did not meet the 2-year mark, came back, brought their new I20 or hit the 2-year mark from whenever they started their status and was approved. It's not an issue. It just matters why you're getting disapproved for your GA45. So, like I said, whenever you get your GA45, if it's disapproved, ask for a copy, kind of talk it over with the recruiter, see what you could do to possibly get it approved, and see if there's a time limit you have to wait or whatnot, if that makes sense. All right. All right, I want to ask a question which every applicants may be concerned about. Do you think there is any possibility that active duty will reopen in capital languages? Okay, yeah, I hit that just a while ago, and yes, my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I believe, just like last year, it will open up again between now and September. All right, next one. Applied for GA45 December 6th. Okay, that was a long time ago. Was told it takes a week to 3 months. Today, after 3 months, I've applied. They are asking me to resubmit. Should I change my recruiter? What's next? Okay, I'm hoping you're watching. After this, you need to send me a message, and I'm going to give you my email. Your recruiter could contact us, and we could try to help you out. Because December 6th, like I said, it should only take 72 hours. If anything beyond 72 hours, we kind of need to follow up. Maybe something went wrong. Maybe a piece of paper was wrong. Something was wrong. If it was sent to through the right channels. So yeah, it should never take more than. I mean, I've had them take a week and a half on the days that we USREC in general send them GA45s really high up, but 72 hours is pretty much the standard, and that's pretty much. I mean, most people come back within 72 hours. Not very many. All right. All right, this is a good one. Sir Payne, thank you for the session. You're very welcome by all means. I was just wondering if you could add my son to, or soon to be wife, as a dependent and receive BAH pay. Okay, so dependents. Big thing. Okay, you got to be wary of this. So you want to make sure that your dependent is on some form of legal status if they're here and whatnot. If they have a social, you want to bring us all the documentation and kind of show us, and so we can look at it and make sure this is not going to hurt your enlistment later. And then whenever you do get married, so long as everything is legal, bring us your marriage certificate, her picture ID, or his, Social Security card. If you have kids, birth certificate, Social Security cards. We will then add everybody into the system. And make sure you have mother-in-law and father-in-law's information, because that has to go in as well. And then we will push everything out or up and explain that you're married now, which is no big deal. If a recruiter tells you you can't get married while you're in the delayed entry program, you can. Okay. Just got to make sure everything is legal and everything is documented. You will get BAH for where your spouse lives. While you're at basic training and everything whatsoever. So I hope that I kind of answered your question right there. All right. Mandatory military service in another country. Not a big deal. Just tell your recruiter. There's actually in the background history, there's a question specifically asking that if you ever been in the military, kind of like Korea. I lived in Korea for 3 years, and every male. Excuse me, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's still this way, but every male has to serve 2 years, whether it's in the ROK Army, the Republic of Korea Army, or as a KATUSA, which is the Korean soldiers that work with us as pretty much translators and whatnot. And that brings up another point. A misconception about this program is we are hiring y'all to be translators for us. We are not. You're actually joining the Army to do an everyday job just like anybody else. Yeah, you could do my job. You could do the guy sitting to my left or right, or gal. I mean, you're not joining to be a translator. You're actually joining the Army because you wanted to join the Army, and you're being allotted this opportunity, if you will, to be able to join, and which is a great thing. Kudos to you guys. All right. Another question is that will TS invade our privacy, such as monitoring our phone conversation, or that's a little bit of the conspiracy theory side of the house. No, I've been through a top secret clearance. I mean, like, a lot of people have been through clearances, and they do a thorough background check to make sure that you are, you're cleared, to make sure that they're not missing anything. It's nothing too evasive. It's, having an interview with you. It could take up to an hour. It could take up to 3 hours, depending on, the conversation and how deep they're going. They will talk to your references. They will talk to people that you know that they know that you know. I've had them go to your house and then walk to a neighbor's house and ask them how, are they rambunctious, or are they loud? Do they have a lot of parties or whatever? You go through the same procedures as just like us going through them. They're not tapping into your phone. They're not trying to read all your emails or anything like that. They honestly don't have time for that, because there's so many people that join the Army that have some sort of clearance, and on top of that have to do all the MAVNIs and all I-551 card holders and stuff like that. So kind of hope I answered your question a little bit. Recruiter to sign the contract on MEPS this Monday. However, our 6th Brigade is holding up the slots and won't let anyone on list right now. Yeah, I honestly don't know what that is about, because, I mean, people in 6th Brigade are enlisting, and we will see how it goes. But I will show you this real quick. It just popped up. But, I mean, there you go. Proof right there. I mean, 6th Brigade's enlisting MAVNIs, so I would honestly ask your recruiter what's going on, because something's not right. Maybe they're getting bad information. Maybe they just don't know what's going on. Okay. Slots left in 3rd Brigade. I don't know what slots you're talking about, but I'm going to assume it's either Chinese or Korean by the name, and there's none. There's none unless you happen to get in the reserves. 3rd Brigade, I do not know how the slots are going on reserves. I know 5th, we shut down, I think either earlier today or yesterday. So, all right. So, gave OPI Urdu 2-2, but later was told, since I am not from Pakistan and Afghanistan. I've heard this. I don't know the reason. I cannot give you a specific reason for this. I assume that they want you to be from the native country of where it's spoken. But I will get you an answer. I'm going to jot your name down, and I owe you an email. And please message me, and I will definitely get you an answer, or I will do a follow-up answer or follow-up video after, a couple weeks after I get back from vacation. And yeah, I'm on vacation, guys. All right. If MAVNI opens in May, June 2014, how many slots will they have? Okay, like I said before, I don't know how many spots exactly they're going to have, so I'm not going to be a dead horse, but if they do open up, just be ready to go. All right? Okay. What if I have problems providing a contact who knows me more than 10 years? I am pretty sure that I can provide one person, my classmate. What if? Great question. All right. So he's talking about character references. If you haven't made it to that portion, you got to have 3 character references in your packet at least. These are 3 people that know you well and they'll speak highly of you. One of those 3 has to have known you for 10 years. The other ones just have to have known you, period. So I highly suggest, deans, professors that just really think highly of you and everything, like I said. But you definitely don't want somebody on there that's going to be like, oh, hey, yeah, he's a terrible person or she's a terrible person. But do your best to find one that has known you for 10 years. That's hard. I know that, because some people have only been here for 2 years, 3 years tops. If it has to be listed, somebody listed from a different country, then do it. That's better than not having one. But definitely think about who you're going to be putting down on there. Good question. All right. All right, here we go. My birth certificate is in my native language. Should I get it translated? Thanks. And if yes, by whom? Okay, great question. Look, birth certificate, as much as recruiters want to say, hey, you have to have it, you do not. We understand that we have so many different languages out there. We're finding translated versions, and people to translate these, if they're not translated, it's next to impossible. It's downright hard. So we do accept your foreign passport with your picture ID and your visa. That will suffice enough to be able to enlist. So once again, don't have to have the birth certificate because we know that's hard. All the other documents are already in English, so we use those and validate. And as long as they're all lining up that you're from the country you say you're from, then you're good. Now, if one of them says you're from Korea and then the other one says you're born in China, you might have an issue. You're going to have a problem. So you might want to get that kind of stuff fixed. Okay. Another thing about your documentations, your documents, if you have a Social Security card, that's what we build our records off of, is the Social Security card. So it behooves you to have your name matching on every single form and not to have to change it and have to add all these aliases, because then that just confuses. It can confuse a recruiter. It can confuse everybody that's USCIS trying to validate your information. Another note, what I was going to tell you is that, sorry, I-94s. I-94s are starting to go away paper copy-wise. It's becoming more and more apparent that we're going just to electronic I-94s. There's actually a website that you can look up your I-94 number. It asks specific information about who you are, last time you came in the U.S., and where you came in to. So what I would tell you is, if you left the country and you came back and you don't have an I-94 anymore, the actual paper copy, I'll post a website that you could actually do the get the verification on it as well. And then if your recruiters ever need it, by all means, post it for them or print it out, take it to them, because it'll help them in the long run. All right, but that was a great question, led into a lot of other stuff. All right, I think there's a follow-on question. Oh yeah, up the top it says, don't go for the physical when congestion, or they are gonna diagnose you with asthma. Opinion-based, you know, I mean, you don't want to be sick anytime you go take a physical, so definitely try to be healthy whenever you're going there. Any slots left for Chinese language in 6th Brigade? Not as of lately. All right. Let's see, scrolling down. There's a lot of thank yous. Sorry. All right. My recruiter did not copy my I-20 but submitted GA45 application with other documents. Will I be not denied? It's kind of a touchy, it's kind of a weird question, because it matters what status you're on. If you're not on an I-20 status, if you're on a H-1, or you're just working, your employment now, your I-20 might not be required. Your employment might cover those last 2 years. So it really matters what status. If you're on an F1 status and your recruiter didn't send a I-20, highly suggest going back there tomorrow and giving them a I-20 and just say resubmit it with it. What could it hurt? It's not going to slow your process down any. If anything, if it comes back originally messed up, it's actually going to help you a lot by sending up the new one. And hey, I saw an error, and I wanted to catch it before the big guys at USREC catch it. Okay, all right. He took my SSN visa school, non-official transcript and passport, but not the I-20. But thanks for replying anyway. Okay, I guess somebody replied to you as well. Like I said, you do want to make sure I would take your I-20, because unofficial transcript can kind of, it doesn't always show your status. It won't show that you've been in good status the whole time. It might not show your whole time you've been to that school, or previous schools. You might have gone to University of Texas and then transferred halfway through to Texas Tech. I don't think anybody would ever do that because University of Texas is awesome and Texas Tech, but that's not for me to judge. But yes, I-20, not unofficial transcripts, not official transcripts. You just need passport, visa, I-20, I-94, Social Security card if you have it. Alrighty. Why does sometimes it take more time to schedule an OPI? Okay, so OPIs are scheduled through the MEPS liaisons. They're the only ones that have access to actually send up the request for MEPS. So your recruiter, after you're phys qualified and test qualified above a 50, and your physical's good to go, he will send up what's called an OPI request form. It's just an Excel document. It's got your information, a little bit of your I-94 number. I'm doing this all off the top of my head, and then it has a bunch of selections for what language you would like to take it in. You can only choose one at a time. You can't request 2 OPIs at the same time, because, for instance, if you're Nepalese, you are from Nepal, and you probably speak Nepalese and Hindi. Doesn't mean you do, but it's a common trend. You cannot request, both of them at the same time. Now, if you do happen to fail one of them, say you failed Nepalese, but you want to take the chance or want to try to go for Hindi, nobody's saying you can't. You just have to resubmit a new OPI. You just can't have 2 active ones at the same time. The reason why sometimes it takes other people longer than others is, first, it's the language. You got to think about how many people are actually trying to get an OPI for that language. Okay? Normal OPI is 7 to 10 business days. Now, if it's going anywhere beyond 10 business days, you need to follow up with it. Your recruiter needs to follow up with MEPS and ask if they submitted it, what's going on with it. Sometimes it could take long. Sometimes if, I think it was the DLA guys, might be on vacation. He might be the only one who speaks that language. It happens. So there's a few different things that could, happen to delay it. But 7 to 10 business days, if it's not back, kind of try to get a hold of your recruiter again. Great question. Okay. Can I take the language? Yes. I just answered that. OPI more than one language. I just can't have 2 of them active at the same time. Okay. How is the process for BCT? What is it like to be at age 30 to 35 and hitting BCT? All right, well, that's up to you, honestly. If you're working out and you're getting in shape, that's totally up to you. I put a 41-year-old woman into basic training back whenever the age was 42. She did a great job. I forever use her as a recruiting tool from then on. Some girl would say, I can't do it. Well, if this 41-year-old woman that's 5'3", 110 pounds could do it, you could do it. I would tell you, start running. The number one thing that kicks people out of basic training is shin splints and not having the ability to run. Push-ups, sit-ups, you can build that. That's strength. But to be able to run is not. It is a natural thing, but it's not something everybody can do. So I honestly, 30 to 35, I've seen some of the best people that are in shape between that age, because they go through their 20s doing the stuff, eating the stuff they shouldn't. Late 20s, they start eating healthy and they start dropping weight. If you're looking to try to drop weight, you just need to eat healthy. You need to reanalyze what you're eating. The more greens, the better. Less sugar. Okay, so I hope that helps out right there. Can I start pre-processing of any time preparation if I haven't been stateside for more than 2 years yet? No. The key to it is your GA45. You need your GA45. That's everything. Without the GA45, you can't really do much. I know some recruiters out there and some battalions are out there that will test you before a GA45, but that's a waste of your time. Because if your GA45 is not going to get approved till November, there's no reason to start pre-processing yet. Because you're going to have to just wait, and you just never know. You could get denied for other reasons as well. All right. Would MEPS make a problem for me if I change the visa in between? No. The biggest thing is you have to maintain your legal status. So if you're going from an F1 student to employment, and as long as you're legal through the whole cycle, you're not like you don't go off a status. That's the key. You want to, look at your status when it's expiring, everything, and really say, hey, you know, uh, my expiration's coming, so I need to start prepping for this status. Start applying, start doing whatever you got to do. I highly suggest talking to your advisors. Your advisors know best. We are not proficient in this. USCIS is, and your advisors are. So, how is the situation for Persian? I really don't understand the question. The situation should be good. It's not a capped language, so it's just one of those. You're ready to join. I mean, you just need to go talk to somebody and start processing. Persian is just a wide open language. I mean, I've not ever had anybody that spoke Persian come to my office yet. So, all right. When should the MAVNI applicant resubmit the GA45 before it is expired? I kind of touched on this earlier. As soon as you get some form of documentation that can push it out further, do so. Especially if you're a capped language. So it will help you in the long run, and it helps the recruiter prepare you and kind of stop from having to cancel projections and stuff like that. Projections. Okay, so I'm going to touch bases on this, and this is a little bit recruiter stuff. To be projected to join the Army, your packet has to be done, and we have to project you 72 hours in advance. So if today was Monday, I would be projecting you for Thursday. I can't project you any day sooner. There's nothing I can do for it. So the longer you take to get your packet done and to get everything to us, the longer it takes for you to join. So just, if your recruiter ever tells you, I can't project you for this date, that's why. So just have that in the back of your head, put it into your toolbox a little bit. All right. So does the 2 years starting counting from when our visas became valid? Does it start when you actually arrived in the U.S.? It's visa status. I mean, on maintaining legal status. So when your visa starts and you're here, I mean, that's when everything starts. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, that one's pretty easy. Appreciate that. All right, my GA45 is expiring on 28th of March, and I was told at MEPS that I can't sign a contract just because of this. Correct. So that kind of goes back into those two stamps. Your GA45 might have been approved further than March, but it might have said you have to ship before March, which you can't do. You have to have 180 days from the day you join, right? Not the day you start processing, but the day you join and sign the contract to when you would ship to basic training. So if you join right now, count out 180 days, and that's the minimum that your status has to be good out until. So kind of look at that, play that by ear, and hope that everything goes good. Okay, my LOL. Okay, my visa was approved like 2 weeks before I set out. So for me, not much difference. Gotta wait till August. Okay, sorry to hear that you gotta wait till August. I mean, but hopefully we could get you in before it closes, and maybe by then we'll be good to go. All right. So, can I list my parents as dependents? This is a very common question, not only for MAVNI applicants, but for other ones. And I do have a note, just real quick. French and Urdu are location specific because of cultural background. So, if you speak French, I mean, you have to be from one of the main countries that has that culture behind it. All right. So, just a little note. Got a text from somebody. So, all right. So back to the question, can I list my parents as dependents? This is a common question not only for MAVNIs, but for people in general. Okay, very family-oriented. Okay, the key to that is, do you pay more than, and I can't quote because I'd have to look up the regulation, but I believe it's 51%. You have to be able to show that you're paying for the bills more than half for your dependents. It's much easier to be able to do it once you're in the military than actually trying to join. But yes, ultimately your parents can be dependents of you, especially if they cannot work, if they're handicapped or for some reason. But you have to be able to prove everything. So it's just one of those things. You you have to really check the regs, and common recruiter's probably not going to be able to answer that. They're going to have to dig deep into that one. I could try to look it up, and on the follow-on video as well, I could either confirm the 51 or whatnot. I'll ask a financial advisor for the Army if that helps. All right. I will be shipped in April, and my I-20 will be expired in May. Do I need to worry about the I-20 expiration date? Okay, so I didn't talk about this earlier. Great question. So our advice, and this is just advice, is you maintain your legal status until you ship. Okay, this is kind of like a catch-all. We understand that you're probably going to, I've been using F1s a lot, but if you're an F1 student, you're probably going to have to pay, you might have to pay for more school. But think of it this way, if you go to basic training and for some reason, medically, you get discharged and then you come back out, it's easier and more likely that they're going to renew your status because you were on good status when you left than if you drop off status. If you allow it to expire and drop off, then you could be putting yourself in harm's way, and they might not renew your status. Now, your case, you ship in April, but it expires in May. You're good because you're going to be shipping before its expiration. No need to get a new I-20 or anything like that. But great question. All right. I have a girl that has Korean citizenship that I would like to marry. Okay, one day. I've signed my contract this week for Army Reserves. Can I invite her over here to live with me? Correct. That is a great question, and you would honestly, I don't know. You would actually have to talk to and kind of research that on the USCIS side of the house. Like, she needs to be legal while she's here. Undocumented, really hurts. Even citizens, like trying to join the Army, if their parents are undocumented, it hurts them in the enlistment process completely. So my advice to you, talk to an advisor, talk to USCIS, see what they say, go with that, okay? All right. Trying to scroll down. There's a lot of the same questions coming through. Interview you give a private join well in a month for me since I've had. Okay, so this is kind of a generic question about interviews. Interviews, yeah, whenever you do the interview, they might call you back. They might do a follow-on conversation with you. They don't have to, and that might be a good thing because if they talk to you and they've got enough information and they're happy with what they've gotten from everybody else as well, then they will, they'll close their investigation out. But if they're having trouble contacting somebody, for instance, or if they're having trouble, finding them, or if they say they don't know you, they're going to contact you for, maybe a new reference or possibly, hey, a better contact way, solution to get a hold of them. Maybe they didn't know that the investigator is supposed to be calling them, and they need a different number, or they need to be told, hey, this guy's about to call you. Can you please answer to talk to him? Don't be afraid if after the first time you talk to an investigator, you don't talk to him again. It's not a bad thing. It's not bad at all. It's actually typically a good thing. Recruiters have no way of looking up how the investigation's going. We don't have access to that. So, a lot of people ask me all the time to look it up and to kind of, hey, can you help me figure out what's going on? What I tell everybody is, if you haven't heard anything, it's good. If you heard something that says, hey, we're going to have to extend your ship date out, and normally that'll be about a month before. That's why it changed from 120 days out to 180 days into depth to stop that from happening. Then you know what's going on. So, interviews are what they are. They're civilians, and they're trying to get it done at a timely manner. And, so just be patient and be positive. The key to it, get your information correct. Make sure your references are tracking that, hey, they're going to be calling and contacting you. Okay? All right. I am enlisted. If I go to another country, come back on another visa, MAVNI approved, do you think I will have a problem with MEPS while shipping? All right. So, advice. This is not like regulation-wise or whatsoever, but my advice to you is don't leave the country once you're approved. You're enlisted. If you leave the country and something goes wrong and you can't get back in, you don't know. Something could happen and you can't get back in, or if you do change your visa and come back in, everything could get messed up. Not saying it will, but it could. Maybe they deny entry back into the U.S. Well, there's nothing we can, as the Army, do to override USCIS for denying you entry to the U.S. So I would tell y'all, once you sign your contract, once you're in the program, don't leave. You're going to have plenty of time to travel. Once you're in the Army, you get 30 days paid vacation every year. That's 2.5 days per month. Go travel after you're in, and just don't put yourself in harm's way, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. All right, trying to go through. Is it true that I cannot take the physical before the OPI? Well, I mean, it matters the battalion. Now, I go by the use right message. The use right message has them in order: ASVAB, physical, OPI. Because the first two are typically, if you're going to have problems, you're going to have problems either with the ASVAB or the physical. A lot of times it's the physical, okay? Another thing I will give you, like, some advice on the physical. Be wary if you're coming up to your physical, what you're eating. You don't want to take in a lot of salts and everything like that. You don't want false readings on, like, blood pressure checks and stuff like that. You want to make sure your ears are really clean. If you've got glasses, you want to go see the eye doctor, get your prescription. You want to set yourself up as good as possible for success. If there was a medical condition, have every single med doc that you can find, and from that doctor, and show them. If you had a medical condition in another country, let's say you had scoliosis in another country, it might behoove you to go get an x-ray, okay? That x-ray might show the doctor, hey, it's not a big deal, or hey, you know what, he can't even join with that. So that's just an example that I've had recently. But you definitely want to kind of set yourself up for success. The more med docs you have on a condition or whatever it is, the better your chances are going to be. And we, as recruiters, can look into the regulation and kind of give you more, not advice, but hey, this is what you're looking at. So kind of take that for what it is, okay? So, but back to the original question. Like I said, some battalions allow you to take the physical before OPI, but doesn't mean every one of them is going to. And I mean, if you come to me, you can't. Our battalion's not going to let you do anything before the you have to take the physical before everything after the ASVAB. All right, what after signing the contract? I don't know the question, so I'm going to keep going. All right, if you're already enlisted but yet not shipped, and your spouse is abroad, if your native country, so okay. You need to get all the paperwork for the spouse and just give it to your recruiter. That's cut and dry. That's pretty much the main thing. After your basic training AIT, after you're a citizen and everything like that, you can start working on all that paperwork. But that's something you really need to talk to USCIS about and see about what you have to do to make everything legality is correct. All right. How did the citizenship process work? I've seen many posts. Okay, so you take a couple forms. I believe for the 400, and can't remember the other form number off the top of my head right now. Ask me in 10 minutes, I would know it. But you take them with you, pre-filled out, with you to basic training. When you get to basic training, they get turned in. So as long as you make it through basic training AIT, some people get your citizenship right after basic training. Some are not getting it till AIT. It just matters. A lot of times, what I've seen, it matters the basic training location, and then just everything lining up, and fingerprints coming back, everything being good, and the paperwork, making it through with no issues. So another note on that: be honest as much as possible. Okay, really be honest. I'm gonna jump back a little bit as well to the physical. If you have speeding tickets, if you have law violations, make sure you're telling the doctor. If you don't tell the doctor, this could cause a lot of headache later on. You might have to go back and tell the doctor, and then they could open you up, is what we call it, and give you a psych evaluation because you didn't tell them the first time. So back to just be honest with everybody, and tell the doctor, hey, I got a speeding ticket. It's not a big deal. Or if you got something like an assault charge, hey, it's a fight. Gotcha. People have arguments. People get fights all the time. Just make sure you're honest. Don't try to hide anything like that. Okay. But citizenship process, like I said, kind of just matters the location you're going to, and seeing how things go from there. My visa status will be expired this May, and my I-20 is valid until 2017, so I don't have to renew my visa unless I leave the U.S. All right, so that is a very good question as well. The visa is the original document that's gonna, suffice for like your status. Your I-20 will, unless you leave the U.S., like you said, you won't get another visa. You won't get an updated visa or anything like that. So your I-20s or your employment cards or whatever you have that's maintaining your status is what we look at. We still take a copy of your visa. I've had numerous people have expired visas because they've been here for 6, 7, 8 years. And that's not an issue whatsoever. As long as your I-20s are good, your visa expiration in your actual passport, not a big deal. All right. So here we go. How long are physical and OPI valid? Okay, so physical, it's good for a year, and then you're gonna have to, every 30 days you would have to do an inspect. So if you take the physical today and you don't join within 30 days, you're gonna have to inspect. Okay, so it's gonna be good until you join. That's not an issue. Your drug test is good till you join. You do have to take a drug test at the MEPS. Your OPI, I believe it's valid for 1 year. You have to have a minimum of a 2.2. So, all right. All right, I think I just did that one. Okay, can you tell us about tests at MEPS if I am colorblind? How are they going to tell me if I'm completely blind or partially? Okay, so everybody has a colorblind test that they have to do. It's just simple little numbers tests that they do, and they show you, and it's you just pretty much have to be able to read the numbers, and it's in 2 different colors, and they're going to tell you whether you're red, green, colorblind, and you probably find online colorblind tests, like anywhere just about, and it'll tell you if you can see all colors, red, green, so go back to that MOS list that I posted and see on the colors if I'm red, green, colorblind, can I do this job? That'll help you out, especially if you've done an online test as well. So, great question. All right, look there. See, don't leave the country. It's just not a good idea. All right, my previous GA45 denied because my visa is about to expire. I got my visa renewed and approved, but hard copy has still not been received. Does this email suffice as proof? No. So, back to the visa. It's just, it matters what documentation you have. I would have to look at what you got. The visa is just one piece of the puzzle, if you will. Like, F1, that's one piece, but what does I-20 say, and how long, and everything like that. So, I would have to kind of look and see what's going on, and then it's kind of got to see if did it expire and you were off of a legal status for a few weeks or a month or something like that. Did everything just restart? If so, then you have all that. All right. Started my recruitment packet with AMED. Had the GA45 approved. Did not pass this review. Can I transfer the GA45 to a new recruiter and join reserve? Great question. Unfortunately, I am not proficient with the AMED program. I'm not an AMED recruiter at all. So, that would be a very good question for an AMED recruiter if you're trying to do AMED through like possibly the reserve program. Now, if you're just trying to do just straight language for reserves, I don't see why not. It's the same G845. You go through the same process, but I could for sure get an answer on that and repost that later. If my OPI have taken more than 2 weeks, do you have to send another request? You might not have to send a request. Okay, so when an OPI goes up from the recruiter, they have to input information into it. One of the pieces of information that is on the recruiter is the recruiter's email address. Okay, so it's going to go from the recruiter possibly to the battalion to MEPS. Okay, so once the MEPS goes in and approves for the test, the recruiter gets an email saying, hey, this has been approved, send it forward, okay? Then the next phase is going to approve the test, and it's going to get another email that says, hey, it's been approved, and then you're just waiting for the test date to come down. So ask your recruiter if he's gotten any emails, whoever's standard email address was on that request. See if they've got any emails. If they haven't, follow up with MEPS. Maybe they forgot to submit it. If they didn't submit it, resubmit the OPI request form. Hope that helps. All right. Sorry, some people are answering the questions. That's cool. Is there any MAVNI who failed background check? Is that possible? Of course. I mean, there's numerous reasons to fail a background check. They look at everything. They look at your character references. They look at your references. They look at your finances. If you have a lot of debt, I mean, you could fail a background check faster than anything. I mean, they look at, what we say in the Army, we have evaluations. We go off the total soldier concept. Well, same thing. Investigation is a total soldier concept. Like, we're going to look at everything to kind of see who you are, who you've hung out with, the law charges you've had. And there's numerous reasons you could fail a background check, but typically you already know if there's a chance you're going to fail it, if that makes sense. Most of the guys or people that typically, in my opinion, that do fail investigations or don't pass the investigation process, they knew they probably either had something that was sketchy in their time, or there's all kinds of reasons that they might have failed. All right, so that was that one. Well, we're almost done with all the questions, unless somebody else gets more. MAVNI is getting closed in May 2014. They say that it is open throughout 2014. Okay, so your 2 years is complete in August. You might still have a chance. Technically, I thought the program closes September 2014. It's either August or September 2014, so you will still have somewhat of a chance, but you're going to want to have a really experienced recruiter, and you're going to want to make sure you have everything already lined up and ready to go. So, great question. We're going to go down here. Let's see. I'm skipping over a few of them because there's a lot of the sames. All right. Somebody asked, it looks like a moral question. Moral is, like a background check or whatnot. Let's see. Nope, sorry. All right, yeah, so MAVNI applicants cannot have moral waivers. This is not the same as a review. A review is typically anything. It could be so many different things. They could have gotten an assault charge. Any violent charge is automatically a review. We go by state law on felony charges, but then everything else is a regulation based. We have different tables we go by, seeing where different charges fall in. You cannot have, you cannot require a moral waiver. So you have to be pretty much clean. So what does that mean? DUIs, that's a moral waiver. Drug charge, marijuana, even if it's the smallest little piece, paraphernalia. So pretty much you got to stay out of trouble, which typically MAVNI applicants already are, because you could lose your status if you get in too much of a trouble anyways. So moral, just be careful. Reviews you can have, so don't let anybody tell you can't have a review. That's perfectly fine. That's just making sure. All that does is really look at your packet and make sure everything is straight. We have all the core documents. We explained everything. Okay. So a note. provided that they meet the requirements RA and AR, MAVNI can switch from AMED. The G845 is valid. That's what I figured, but I didn't know for sure, because it is the same process for a G845, just a little bit more hassle to go through the AMED program, you know, what they have to do, but should be good. Okay. All right. All right. I am at the hotel waiting for sign up tomorrow. Is there any slots left in 3rd Brigade? Once again, I don't know what language. I would hope if you're at the hotel and you're joining tomorrow, they already know. But if you're talking about reserves, I don't know for sure. And I can't get that answer right now because I don't know anybody who would have that answer right now with the total number that enlisted today and how many are remaining. So, all right. All right, how many Hindi and Nepalese? 0 as of right now. Get your stuff ready. Get ready for the next wave if it opens up. Okay. This is very informal. All right, cool. Could you please once more go over how we get online access to our packet? Okay, so the biggest thing is your recruiters have to give you access. Okay, so when you become an applicant, when you're ready to take the ASVAB, it's called the 680 form. Okay, the 680 portion has to be done on your packet. You have to have an email address in your packet, and then you have to go to your recruiter has to walk you through what's called the ACE program. So if you ever want to work on your packet online and complete it from home, tell them to please register you for an ACE lead. Okay, it's in Recruiter Zone. They should know what you're talking about. If they don't, once again, tell them to email me. I'll put my email address at the bottom of this feed so that anybody, please be careful. Every individual person email me. Try to have your recruiters email me because I can speak to them and kind of teach them and show them, hey, this is how everything works. So, but yeah, ACE is super simple, and I mean, I could show anybody how to do it with my eyes closed. So, yeah, just make sure you ask them and then tell them, hey, can I please work on my packet at home? All right, please talk about timeframes from first appointment and recruiter to signing up the contract. I am hoping to get one of the 20 slots. Okay, so from point A to point B, I know on the language page we had the other day, or a couple months ago, I think we were asking what's the fastest anybody's ever put anybody in the MAVNI program, and I mean, it just differs. So G45 minimum 72 hours. So that's, you know, we're just gonna say 3 days. Then you gotta get scheduled to take the ASVAB. Let's just say you get lucky and you send it up. G45 came back on a Wednesday. You take the ASVAB Thursday. Now you get scheduled for the FIS. Well, that's 3 more days. And then you have to get scheduled for the OPI. We're gonna say that's 2 weeks. And then you have to make sure your packet's done and get projected to join the Army. So roughly a month. I mean, a month is pretty fast in my opinion. So just be wary of that, I guess. Okay, so whenever I sign the contract, I have to wait 180 days before I can go to BCT. Yes. So what that means is everybody has a minimum of 180 days that they have to be in the delayed entry program for their investigation. No ifs, ands, buts about it. No getting around it. No nothing. Everybody has to be in there for 180 days now. It was 180 days before. So, and they just gave that extra time, like I said, to say, hey, for these investigations, because some of them weren't getting completed, and some people were shipping to basic training just to sit there and wait for their investigation or reception, and some people were just getting hold or ship dates were getting renode out further, because, and that kind of puts a hassle on you, because if your status is coming up and it's going to expire, now you have to jump through hoops to get it so they pushed it out to 180 days. No big deal. Okay, so this is going to be the last one. I mean, it is the last one. So I got into a car accident, but my insurance company took care of it. Can that disqualify me? No, I mean that's what insurance is for, right? So yeah, like insurance is good. Like no big deal. As long as you're not delinquent, you're not overdue on thousands of dollars of debt, or you didn't pay off a lot of credit cards and everything like that, then you're good. Okay. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry stuff there. I mean, that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. Like, I touched bases on a lot of the stuff that I really wanted to kind of get out to y'all. I'll do another one in a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, and kind of tell you what's been going around, some more trends. Probably not as long as this one because you can always go back and watch this one. This one is recorded live, but it'll also be on YouTube, and so it'll always be on that pin. I'm just looking over my notes, trying to make sure that I didn't miss anything, which I didn't. So not that I see. Make sure you all check out the file section. There's plenty of good information in there. Great information on the forum. One thing I'll say, try to keep it professional. If I ever see a MAVNI soldier, if you're actually in the Army and you start getting unprofessional on a page, I'm not going to wait for a civilian to correct you. I will message you, and we will have a pretty good conversation about this. This is a very informative page. Like, we're here to help each other, and we're here to give information to each other. So be professional. Respect each other, because not all of us know as much as the other person. Not all of us have read as much as the other person. So yeah, once again, be respectful, be professional, no matter what. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. And if somebody's saying something wrong, just try to correct them and guide them in the right direction, and say, hey, you know what? You might want to ask one of us, like Sergeant Jacobs or myself or somebody else that's on the forum all the times. Dr. Wong. That's pretty much it. If you have more questions, by all means, put them on the YouTube feed and or on the Facebook forum, and I will try to get to them, and I'll try to do like a follow-up video here in the future. But I am going to go enjoy my vacation. It's been a pleasure, and like I said at the beginning, this was not recruiting related, and this is very unofficial and very informal. Feel free to contact me for anything, any help you might need, and once again, I'll put my email address on there. Thanks, guys.